Hey everyone, Kunik here, back with another Short Stories Wednesday. In today's video we have a few D&D horror stories along with one glory story. Anyhow, with that all said, let's roll for initiative and begin the stories. Story number 1. Unprepared DM wasted 2 hours of a 6-hour session making a homebrew ability. A little background. We are playing 5e in Forgotten Realms, and we are a relatively small group. There is me, the Red Flag Galore DM, my brother, the God or Saint, and one other, but he isn't a part of the story because he goes to college, so he's very off and on. The third player I like to nickname God or Saint because he's the nicest individual I've ever known. I don't know if he will ever see this, but he drives an hour plus to come play D&D, bought snacks for us, and never argues with the DM. Even if it's the most stupid rule ever. Basically, the DM decided to make the Saint the protagonist of the story by making him a godling. Note: first major red flag. The Saint didn't ask nor want to be a godling, but he doesn't argue or fight the DM, and he has no control over his godlike abilities. Second red flag. The Saint made his character lawful good, and the DM gave him abilities to kill innocent people that he can't control, and he didn't want the abilities. Again, the nice person he is, he didn't argue or complain about it. So, in order to gain control, he goes through a dungeon. An hour later of us going through, killing crap, me and my brother's characters basically being side characters, the DM gives the Saint an ability to control fire. Another red flag. And this is where crap gets boring. The DM didn't prepare nor make the ability, and I doubt if he didn't just YOLO the whole dungeon, to be honest. This is, by the way, the 4th session in, and we spent the last 2 hours having to homebrew a control fire ability. He wanted it to be, and I quote, equivalent to an 8th level spell he can use once a day. And, FYI, we're level 3. Okay, this seems like one of those DMs that likes to do everything on the fly, and there's a few problems with that if you're not good at it. Namely, you don't know how to balance the story around all of your characters, which is exactly what we see happening here, and if you need to give them any kind of unique abilities that only they can use, and you're trying to wing it, you do need to sit down just a little bit to map out how it's going to work. So in the case of a unique ability like this, how I'd handle it is say that it's going to take some time for it to prepare and be usable, and that come next session, you're going to have it ready for them to use. That way you don't bring the entire session down to a snail's pace. But regardless, never should you ever have a player that is a very clear protagonist amongst the group of other players. It's just going to turn your other players off from playing the game, and they might outright quit as a result. Story number 2, I ducked up. This didn't happen in a session. This happened 5 minutes ago. I am a DM and I have been designing a city full of quests for a while now, but all of it's in my head. Today, I had a free afternoon, so about 3.5 hours ago, I started to design the map. It definitely wasn't done, but it was a lot of effort. Something I didn't notice is that I hadn't saved. Ever. So my computer just blue screened. Everything I had been working on was gone. I feel just so demotivated to do anything right now. I just needed to vent. And this is where I say you should just switch to Linux like me and stop using Windows. But I'm not a tech channel, so I'm not going to say that, but I just did. But yeah, this one hurts me a ton. I've never actually made any maps, but it's something I intend to dabble in the near future. Regardless, I do have experience with this happening to me when it comes to video editing. Back when I first started video editing about a decade ago, I never saved, and oh man, I lost so many projects because I just refused to save. Now, however, I have it built into my muscle memory to spam Ctrl+S almost every single second to make sure that I'm saving the work I do, because I know the pain and it sucks. So hopefully the DM has learned his lesson and now will habitually spam the Ctrl+S keys to save the project. Story number 3. My brother's rise from sorrow. My brother has always been a very, for a lack of a better word, unfeeling person. He openly laughed at the end of Avengers Affinity War, and it was something that my parents were concerned about. I didn't mind it because I just figured he was a stoic person, but part of me always knew that he probably had an issue I couldn't diagnose. When I got him into D&D, however, something ignited within him. In our first one-on-one game, he played a noble, and for the first time in a long time, he seemed invested in something. He thought very thoroughly about what to do, and tried to be as careful as possible because this was real to him. It was something where he didn't have to put on a persona for people because it was just him and me, the one person he would be open with. I saw him get happier after we started playing, and he would ask me multiple times if we could play again because he was so happy playing D&D. I decided to learn all I could about D&D because this was something that made my brother happy, something that made him feel, and I ran games for him whenever I could. This all peaked when we played Descent into Avernus. He had his best friend join us, and at one point, they saved one of the leaders of Baldur's Gate. My brother's character was from Baldur's Gate and wanted to be a paladin, but got rejected and had to turn to crime to even live. So it took both him and my brother by surprise when the leader knighted him, and I told him to take a free level of paladin. He and his friend were thrilled, and I saw my brother start crying. It was slow, and then it just got more intense. He was so happy. I hugged him and told him to roll for his new HP. They continued the campaign, and my brother's character ended up sacrificing himself to save a city at the very end. And once again, my brother was crying. He felt so satisfied that he got to be a hero. D&D has really made my brother more open with his feelings, and I'm so glad that I decided to dust off my starter set for him. I can't wait for him to see the Hero Forge mini of his paladin that I ordered for his birthday. Yeah, this is just really a feel-good story, nothing to comment on it. I think the DM is on track to be a fantastic DM, and the only thing I would maybe try to do in the future is introduce more people into it so it's just not his brother and his brother's friend. Maybe they can introduce a third and a fourth player and have a full party. But yeah, this was amazing. End posts. Alright, that wraps it up for this video. As always, the source of the stories are in the description below, and if you like the story and you want to see more videos just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon if you haven't already. Now, while you wait for my future videos, here are a few related videos that you can watch in the meantime.